Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me today because we have some very exciting General Hospital news to talk about, and it's definitely worth the wait. I have to tell you, when I sat down and really took in what's been unfolding in General Hospital lately, I found myself just leaning back and thinking, well, this one is heavy. And I don't say that lightly because I've watched this show for years and I've seen characters go through heartbreak, betrayal, and all kinds of chaos. But Jordan's story right now, it feels different. It sticks with you. What really hit me first was learning that Jordan may be dealing with lasting damage after that accident. I remember watching those scenes and feeling that quiet tension building, the kind where you already sense life is about to shift in a big way for a character. And then the truth comes out, scarring, possible changes to her face and neck, and it just lands with a kind of emotional weight that's hard to shake off. I actually paused for a moment when I heard that, not because it was shocking in a loud way, but because it felt so personal, so human. And I'll be honest with you, I could almost feel Jordan's reaction through the screen when she finally saw herself in the mirror. That moment didn't need big words or dramatic speeches. It was just raw emotion. I've been through moments in life where you see something about yourself change and you're not ready for it. And that's exactly the kind of feeling this storyline brought to mind. It made me sit a little closer to the screen, like I didn't want to miss a second of what she was going through. Now, Curtis stepping in and trying to reassure her, that really added another layer. You can tell he cares and you can feel that he's trying to hold things together for her. But I kept thinking, sometimes in life, even the best intentions and the best doctors in the world can't instantly fix what someone is feeling inside. That's where this story gets interesting, because it's not just about physical healing anymore. It feels like Jordan is standing at a crossroads where how she sees herself might change everything about what she's willing to do next. And that's where things get even more intense, because there's this sense that she might start making choices she wouldn't have considered before. I don't mean that in a simple revenge or drama way. I mean it in a deeper sense, like when someone feels their identity slipping and they start reaching for anything that gives them control again. I've seen characters go down that path in soaps before, but Jordan feels especially grounded, which makes it even more compelling. Now, when I think about Jen Sidwell possibly being tied into all of this, that's when I start paying extra attention. There's something about his presence that always feels like a quiet storm. He doesn't need to be loud to change the direction of a story. And knowing how General Hospital works, when a character like that is placed near someone vulnerable, you can almost feel the story shifting into something more strategic, more layered. I found myself wondering if he's going to offer Jordan something she can't easily refuse, something that looks like help on the surface but carries a bigger cost underneath. Curtis trying to protect her while Sidwell's influence possibly circles closer, it creates this push and pull that I think is going to get more intense very soon. And honestly, that's what keeps me watching. It's not just what happens, but how people respond when they feel like they're losing control of their own lives. What also came to mind for me was that earlier storyline with Ava back in 2017 when she suffered those burns. I remember how that arc unfolded, how it wasn't just about recovery, but about identity, confidence, and the way others see you after everything changes. It feels like the writers are revisiting that emotional space again, but giving it a fresh angle with Jordan. And if that's true, then we're probably only at the beginning of something much bigger. I'll say this like I would to a friend sitting next to me. This isn't just another medical setback storyline. It feels like a turning point, the kind that slowly changes how a character moves through every room, every relationship, every decision. And those are usually the stories that end up staying in your mind long after the episode is over. So yes, I'm watching this very closely, because when General Hospital starts weaving physical struggle with emotional transformation like this, it usually means one thing: everything is about to get a lot more complicated and a lot more interesting. I have to tell you, the more I sit with these new developments in General Hospital, the more I feel like I'm watching one of those storylines where everything looks like a chance for healing on the surface, but underneath it, there's something much more dangerous quietly forming. And I can't help but talk about it like I'm sitting with a neighbor on the porch, shaking my head while saying, now this is going to get complicated. When I think back to the Ava situation with Valentine, it really sticks in my mind. At that time, everything started with something that looked almost hopeful. Ava was dealing with the aftermath of severe burns, and Valentine stepped in with what seemed like a solution, access to a special clinic and a highly skilled plastic surgeon. On the surface, it felt like an opportunity to restore something she had lost. And I remember thinking, well, maybe this is one of those rare moments where someone actually gets a clean second chance. But if you've watched soaps long enough like I have, you start to notice a pattern. Nothing ever comes without a cost. And that's exactly why, when I look at Jordan's situation now, I immediately feel that same uneasy feeling creeping in again. Jordan is in a deeply vulnerable place right now. This isn't just about physical injuries, it's about identity. I keep thinking about what it must feel like for her to look in the mirror and see those changes to her face and neck changes caused by trauma that she had no control over. That kind of moment doesn't just hurt physically, it hits something much deeper. It shakes the way a person sees themselves every single day. I've seen enough life and enough of this show to know that moments like that can change a person's entire direction. Curtis, of course, is doing what someone who loves her would do. He's trying to reassure her, telling her they'll find the best surgeon, that there are solutions, that things can be fixed. And I believe his intentions are completely sincere, but I also can't ignore the emotional reality here. Sometimes reassurance isn't enough when someone is staring at a version of themselves they no longer recognize. And that's exactly where things start to feel like they're shifting into dangerous territory. Because now we bring Sidwell into the picture, and I'll be honest, I don't trust how smoothly this could all be set up. Characters like Sidwell don't usually operate in obvious ways. They don't come in yelling or making threats. Instead, they come in calm, composed, and almost helpful. The kind of person who makes everything sound reasonable. The kind of person who says, I can fix this for you in a way that makes you almost want to believe him. And I can easily imagine where this could go. Sidwell could very well offer Jordan access to a surgeon who can do what seems impossible, restore her appearance, or at least bring her back close to who she used to be. And emotionally, I understand how powerful that offer would be for her, because when someone is struggling with identity and trauma, the idea of becoming yourself again can feel like the only thing that matters in the world. But that's exactly where the trap begins. Because in this kind of storytelling, nothing that powerful comes without strings attached. And I can already see the shape of it forming. If Jordan accepts help from Sidwell, it probably won't just be about surgery or recovery. It could slowly turn into obligation. First, small compromises, looking the other way, staying silent about certain things. Then bigger ones, protecting information she would normally expose. And before she realizes it, she could find herself standing in a moral space she never intended to enter. That's what makes this so tense for me. Because Jordan is not a careless character. She has always been grounded in a sense of duty and justice. She's someone who understands right and wrong very clearly, but even the strongest people have breaking points, and trauma has a way of reshaping priorities in ways that feel justified in the moment. And I keep asking myself, if the price of healing her appearance is also the slow erosion of her moral boundaries, would she even recognize it happening, or would she tell herself it's worth it? That's the part that really sits with me, because the temptation here is not just physical restoration, it's emotional restoration. It's the promise of looking in the mirror and not feeling pain anymore. And that kind of promise is incredibly powerful. Curtis might continue fighting to keep her grounded, but Sidwell's influence, if it grows the way I suspect it might, could offer something faster, easier, and emotionally irresistible. And in stories like this, faster and easier is usually the beginning of something very dangerous. It also reminds me again of that Ava storyline, not just because of the medical side of things, but because of the emotional trade-off. In both cases, there's this underlying question: how much of yourself are you willing to give up in exchange for being made whole again? And I think that's exactly what the writers might be building toward with Jordan, because this doesn't feel like a simple recovery arc. It feels like a slow shift into something darker, where personal healing and moral compromise start to overlap in uncomfortable ways. And honestly, that's why I'm so locked into this storyline right now. Because every time I think I can predict where it's going, I get this feeling that I'm only seeing the surface while something much deeper is already moving underneath it all, waiting for the right moment to change everything.